We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Ton of Tar Heel action this past weekend. Let's recap it all. It is brought to you by Wells Fargo. I'm Jones Angell. That's Adam Lucas. Let's get moving. A lot to get to. Adam, we'll start with baseball. Right here at the end of the regular season, in fact, into the final week of the regular season this week, but they closed last week in some impressive fashion. After a midweek victory over Gardner-Webb, Tar Heels then sweep NC State in Chapel Hill. It is the first ACC sweep of the year for the Tar Heels, moves them to 33-17 overall, 14-11 in ACC play. It gave them a nice RPI boost. It has them right there in the mix at the top of the Coastal Division. Just a very positive weekend for the Diamond Heels.
Just like last season, Tar Heels playing well here as we get into mid-May and head towards that ACC tournament, which of course Carolina won last year. Tar Heels' first sweep of NC State and Chapel Hill since 2006. They got some big hitting, but they also got some very timely pitching. Jake Knapp was really good. He threw 6 innings and only gave up 2 runs. And Scott Forbes elected to move Max Carlson back into the starting rotation. Max started on Friday night, threw a career-high 7 2/3 innings and was very effective. So the Tar Heels might be figuring out some of the pitching issues that had posed a problem during that middle part of the season where both the bullpen and the starters were struggling at the same time. Carolina playing much better now, and they're going to have to because this is a big week. Carolina goes on the road to Coastal Carolina today. Then they go to Clemson this weekend. The Tigers, another ACC team that's playing well at the end of the year and has hosting aspirations. So Carolina, which has clinched its spot in the ACC tournament in Durham, still needs to do some national positioning, and they've got a big chance to do that this week.
Tar Heels are tied in the Coastal Division in the loss column. If you've been with us all year, if you followed the Diamond Heels, you know they lost a couple of games in the sense that they were unable to play 2 of the 3 games in Pittsburgh earlier in the season due to the weather. So that has that the standings are a little tough to follow, but that's why the Tar Heels are a few games behind as far as number of total victories in ACC action. Also had a difficult stretch that Adam was talking about. 6 games at home against Miami and Boston College, where the Heels were just 1-5 in those 6 games. Every one of those games came down to the final inning. So, gosh, it would have been nice for a couple of them to go the other way, but maybe some of those challenges have helped the Tar Heels to their quality play as of late. So, big week coming up for the Diamond Heels. ACC tournament is next week. Speaking of tournament play, several Tar Heels are into NCAA tournament action. That includes women's lacrosse. They are the number 4 overall seed, now 16-4. And Adam, they achieved that record with a couple of wins, first over Sacred Heart, and then what was a very tight match against Richmond in the second round. Tar Heels actually trailed at halftime, but came back to win, and they're moving on to the quarterfinal round for the 20th consecutive season.
Richmond had a 3-goal lead on Carolina at Dorrance Field, but the Tar Heels come back, really play well in the second half. Melissa Scanoni had 3 goals and an assist. Kaylee Harden, 8 draw controls, which was a career high. And Caitlin Wurzberger with a milestone. She's now at 200 points for her Carolina career. Only 13 Tar Heels have reached 200 points in their career. Tar Heels, as Jones said, going to the quarterfinals for their 23rd time. Jenny Levy's program just makes a habit of being excellent in May. Got a challenge coming up on Thursday, though. They're going to host the 5-seed Denver. The Pioneers are 21-0 on the season. Got a couple big wins, but kind of out there in the West, nobody's sure what they're doing all the time. So that'll be a big one for the right to go to the Final Four, which is in Cary this year. That match will be 5 o'clock on Thursday in Chapel Hill.
All right, women's tennis, number 1 overall seed in its event. It has advanced to the quarterfinal round of the NCAA tournament. The last match for Carolina in the Sweet 16 actually lost the doubles point to Florida, so they were down 1-0, but then they just dominated in singles play and end up beating the Gators 4-1, and they were leading, in fact, in the other 2 singles matches as well were the Tar Heels. They ended up getting wins from Reese Brantmeyer, Fiona Crawley, Riley Tran, and Annika Yarlagata. We've had 2 of those 4 on the pod, Adam. 2 of the 4 of those that picked up wins have joined us before. So Carolina moving on, they face Texas, who is the defending national champion. Texas, the number 8 overall seed, and so certainly a challenge upcoming for the Tar Heels down in Orlando in the NCAA tournament. Adam, unfortunately not as good a news for the guys on the tennis side of things. They had a tough draw, had to head to Austin to see number 1 Texas.
Women hoping for a different outcome against the Longhorns than what the men had. Texas on the men's side is the number 1 team in the country. They showed it against Carolina this past weekend, beat the Tar Heels 4-0 in the Super Regional. Tar Heels do have several individuals advancing to NCAA individual play. Brian Cernock, who you've heard from on here, will play singles. Also, Ryan Segerman will play singles, and then the doubles team of Segerman and Casey Kania is going to play doubles. Those individual championships start in Orlando after the team event is over, so the individuals get started on May 22nd.
A couple of teams that had solid seasons but have seen them come to an end, softball and women's golf. Softball had a really rough first half of the year, was playing much better in the second half of the season, but the record just not to the point where they could afford to lose in the ACC tournament, and unfortunately the Heels did 2-1 in extra innings to Clemson in the quarterfinal round. And women's golf does not advance through the regional round, although they scored well. They ended up at 12 under in the Pullman regional, but did not advance out of that regional to the championship round. Inez Ng had a 5 under 67 in the final round out there in Pullman. So women's golf continuing to take some steps, hoping to build off of that next season. The men, meanwhile, are playing in the Salem, South Carolina regional starting today. At last report for Adam and me, they were right there at the top, second or third place in the regional as play was continuing. You have to be in the top 5 to advance. And Adam, Tar Heels are number 2 in the nation in men's golf. And with that kind of quality team success, not a big surprise that a lot of individuals were honored.
Winners get the awards.
Yeah,
and rewards,
that's what I've heard.
James. That's what I like to say. It's David Ford, who's the ACC Player of the Year. Big honor for him, but the Tar Heels have great depth. And so also several Tar Heels on the All-ACC team. You see there, Austin Greaser, Ryan Burnett, Dylan Menanti, all honored. David Ford, just a sophomore, winning Player of the Year. So Andrew DiBattista really has it going. As you can see, great recruiting, also a great coach. That's why he's the ACC Coach of the Year for the second straight season.
And let's wrap up with track and field. The men finished 6th, the women finished 8th at the ACC Outdoor Championships. Couple individuals. Ethan Strand wins the 1,500 meter. He's the first Tar Heel to do it. Look, he's happy. He should be. He's the first Tar Heel since 1978 to win that event. Craig Sadler won the 400 meter, and Madison Wiltrout won the javelin for the 3rd consecutive season. So congratulations to all those Tar Heels. Thanks for joining us, getting down to the end, but we'll be with you as the Heels move through the end of the season. Thanks for being here on the Carolina Insider.